Happy Tuesday. So today's my day off from weight training, which I'm pretty thankful. Did legs yesterday. Had a good eating day yesterday. The only carbs that I had was, what did I have? I had one banana, 6 apples, because obviously, you know, the apple diet, and what else I have? And I had corn tortillas. So yesterday was a good day. Held out pretty well. You know, had a lot of nuts yesterday, cashews and walnuts, actually, to be specific. So, I mean, you know, everything's going well. I woke up this morning feeling very, you know, lean. I didn't feel very, like, bloated at all. I was very tired on my walk, but I did do front squats for the first time in 2 weeks yesterday. And those gas out your quads. Kind of, you know, irritating, because this is the first week in a few weeks that I'm going to attempt to walk 6 days. I was really liking having the 3 days off where I didn't do anything per week, but as an endomorph, we have to be moving our body 6 days a week. So I have to do the walk 6 days out of the week, hour and 10 minutes, 70-minute walk. And I push myself during that walk, and then the 4 days of lifting in addition for my strength gains. Hopefully I'll be back on my board really soon, and that'll be spiking a lot of muscle activation in my legs to a much higher degree than weight training. Freeboarding is the best conditioning exercise that I can do for my legs, especially if I go out and focus on riding distance. It's in riding at 90 degrees or below, you know, 3/4 to, you know, or maybe a third to half of the time, trying to keep myself low and really work my legs and control the board from an athletic stance. That, I mean, it's hard work, but that's neither here nor there. I mean, you know, it's just a little personal stuff. But what I want to talk about today really quickly, in addition to that other, you know, just personal stuff, is we really have to make sure as endomorphs that we are following the information of people that are talking about what we need to do. Because what I see out there in the fitness industry the majority of the time is stuff, information that is for ectomorphs or mesomorphs, people that are not like us, and we require a great deal of change, constant change, especially if we're going for fat loss, and we just cannot eat the majority of the foods out there, including the health food products. You know, a lot of these bars and protein bars and all that stuff that's laced, or not only laced with lots of carbohydrates and sugars, but also processed. Our bodies do not do well with processed foods. They just don't. That's the reason why I'm even a little timid about the corn tortillas. It's a better source of carbohydrate for our body type, but you know, the processed stuff is that robbing me of a few more grams of fat loss per week by putting that form of carbohydrate, a processed form of carbohydrates, into my system, rather than just having rice and sweet potatoes the majority of the time. But I like Mexican food. I like tortillas. I like the crunchiness. I like that texture. You know, I always have. It's one of my favorite things to eat. And, you know, I want to have, you know, I consider that something, you know, that's a cheat product. So, you know, but I want to have that in there, so I work it in. But our bodies don't do well with these processed foods, especially if you're trying to get chiseled. You know, that is my whole objective. As I said before many times, I have a lower back injury. All the spine specialists that I've spoken to have said that I need to be as lean as possible and carry as much or the least amount of excess weight as possible. I want to maintain my muscle mass and my strength for longevity, so when I'm older I don't fall and break my hip or whatever. But you know, that requires me to basically get all the fat that I have off of my body. You know, so, you know, the majority of it, no fat reserves, because I'm trying to be athletic and moving around with a back injury. You know, I want that weight gone by through fat stores. You know, and so It's that simple. So that's the route I'm on. If you're not on that route, you don't want to listen to the stuff I'm saying. Endomorphs that are trying to be chiseled, whether it be male or female, I'm talking about information that has to do with that. If it doesn't have to do with that, then it's probably just some personal stuff, which I have on the page, also about teaching jiu-jitsu or maybe messing around with my students when, you know, while teaching them certain movements and ideas, riding my board, or something to do with the weight training, powerlifting, or conditioning for fat loss. That's all I'm talking about on here for endomorphs. And that's what you have to do. You have to focus on that information, because I'm telling you, I've been doing this thing with playing around, trying to lose weight, honestly, since the 3rd grade. I'm not joking. So, you know, I'm not gonna blow my own horn or toot my own horn or whatever you want to call it, but I'm telling you, one thing I can guarantee you is that I know a lot about this crap. This subject of getting weight off for endomorphs, I know it like the back of my hand. And the reason why is because I have lived and made so many mistakes. And so I know now how like ridiculously serious it is that we eat a certain way, train a certain way, think a certain way, and also, you know, continuously flood our minds with the right information and a realistic realistic ideals. Because one of the things, you know, one of the big mistakes that I've made, you know, and then I'll let you go, is I have been lean. You know, I was kind of making a mistake because I cut a lot of muscle during that time, you know, out of, you know, by making a mistake. That's why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it this time. But, you know, I was lean before. I was on my way. I was like pretty much, you know, man, I was real close to my goal weight. I didn't have the muscle mass that I wanted and the strength, which is where I made my mistake. But I was close as far as my weight goal is concerned. And then, you know what? I started telling myself, oh, you know, you could go back to eating that same way. You know, you're good. You know, you're so lean now. You know, your metabolism probably works so much better now. You know, you could go back to eating these foods and, you know, they're not going to affect your body the same way. You're not going to put back on fat the same way you have in the past. And you know what? I did. Because it doesn't matter how lean we get. You know, yeah, you may be able to have some processed foods or some pastries, but I mean, you probably cannot eat the entire day, and you're gonna have to back that up with several days of like radical levels of cutting your carbs down. So, I mean, you know, it's better just to like constantly live this information, constantly flood your mind with this information that's specifically for you, and keep everything else out, because the endomorph life is a hard knock life, man. You know, just being honest, being an endomorph, if you're trying to be lean and you're trying to be chiseled and athletic and have good body control and do something like parkour, or, you know, be great at jiu-jitsu and move like crazy, or, you know, just anything, a distance runner, you know, anything. If you're trying to have that kind of a life, you have to eat a very specific, certain, meticulous, crazy way. Happy Tuesday.